Douglass's journey from bondage. Frederick Douglass stands as a monumental figure in American history, a beacon of hope and strength in the struggle for equality. Born into the grip of slavery in 1818, Douglass's journey from bondage to freedom is a testament to the indomitable spirit of a man who refused to accept subjugation. He escaped the chains that bound him and transformed his life's mission into a powerful voice for abolition and civil rights, inspiring countless others to join the fight against oppression. Education to Douglass was not merely a luxury, but a fundamental key to liberation. He understood that knowledge was a vital tool for self-empowerment. Self-taught in reading and writing, Douglass embraced education as a path to freedom. In his autobiographical work, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, he painted a vivid portrait of the brutal realities of slavery, intertwining his personal experiences with a broader narrative that exposed the inhumanity of the institution. His words resonated deeply with the public, awakening a moral consciousness and rallying support for the abolitionist movement. As a gifted orator, Douglass possessed an extraordinary ability to connect with his audience, mesmerizing them with his impassioned speeches. He did not simply call for the end of slavery, he demanded full equality for all individuals. One of his most renowned addresses, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July?" challenged the very foundations of American freedom. Urging the nation to recognize its hypocrisy, Douglass's rhetoric was both a call to action and a mirror, reflecting the dissonance between the ideals of liberty and the reality of oppression. Douglass's vision for equality extended beyond racial boundaries. He was a staunch advocate for women's rights as well. He believed that the struggle for liberation must be inclusive, embracing all marginalized communities. In his pursuit of justice, Douglass understood that true progress required solidarity and collective action among all oppressed groups. In summary, Frederick Douglass's relentless fight for equality reshaped American history and continues to inspire generations. His legacy calls us to action, reminding us of the ongoing struggle for justice. As we reflect on his life, let us commit to striving for a society where freedom and equality are not mere ideals, but a lived reality for everyone. Douglass's life is a reminder that the dream of equality must persist, igniting our passion for change. Good evening. Welcome to the Gag-Order. Tonight we're diving into a crucial topic, drug overdose and suicide awareness. Tonight I'm with Maie-Jean, who is my expert in drug overdose, mental health awareness, and I'm going to rely on her tonight. Keya, I would like to take a second and wish her well. She is going through not only the experience of uh, losing somebody to drug overdose and having to deal with that, but she is going through her own times. And I just want to send her peace and love and respect and wish her and her family the best. Um, as we dive deeper into our discussion on drug overdose and suicide awareness, it is crucial that we understand the real life impact on these issues, and the impact it has on families and individuals. I know this hits close to home to one of my co-hosts, and I was gonna have her share right now, but I would like to go to May and ask May, what are the things you notice when you first encounter somebody who has a drug addiction?
Well, I think the first thing that people see is that a lot of times the things they say don't add up or don't make sense. A lot of people are functioning addicts, which is what makes it even harder to pinpoint a lot of times. But they'll either spend a lot of time in the bathroom, match up.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, you muted yourself, May. You muted yourself. Okay. Hold on one second, everybody. Yes. How you
Sorry,
doing, May? That's
I got
fine.
kicked out.
Can you finish,
So,
please?
yeah, so I mean, it could be other things too, like people who have good jobs that never seem to have any money. Um, people who have all kinds of excuses for erratic behavior. There's all kinds of warning signs,
Absolutely.
depending on what kind of drug they're using or how long they're using or
Mm,
how bad the addiction is.
mm, absolutely. I do have a question for you. Could you
Yeah.
shed some light on warning signs and intervention that could help prevent these such tragedies?
Okay, so I did drug and alcohol detox in the hospital for 7 to 8 years. Um, and the things that I seen most with the people are one of three categories. Either you have the people who start out where they're just partying, and they fall into addiction per se, where, they're in college and they're going out all the time and, they were drinking in high school in fields and, next thing you know, they're 30 and they're going out every weekend and drinking after work. And, it progresses in that manner. Then of course we have the people who are dual access, which means they have a mental illness and addiction issues.
Mm,
And then other people from trauma, whether it be from an accident they get into where they start using pain medication or, like rape, PTSD, war, all of those things are precursors
mm,
to having addiction issues, right? Because
absolutely.
people use drugs to cope.
Mm,
People use drugs to feel good. So that's the challenge when you're an addict to stay clean, is that you're always one emotional crisis away from a relapse. If you don't really change your whole life and change the way you cope with yourself and the world around you, it's very, very difficult to stay clean.
mm,
I was actually talking to someone the other day, and we were discussing detox treatments. And they said to me, well, it doesn't matter because nothing makes me feel like you do on the street. And I said
mm,
to them, well, if what you're looking for is to feel high like you do on the street, then you're not really looking to be clean.
true.
And that becomes a tricky situation and a tricky line to walk because everyone wants to feel good, right? There's
Mm,
not one of us that would say that we wouldn't want to feel good all the time if we couldn't. But
absolutely.
unfortunately, that's not real life. And like I tell my children, if you're waiting around for life to be nice to you, you're going to be waiting for a long, long time. Life is not kind to anyone.
Anybody. Absolutely.
Life is life is not kind to anyone, and everyone struggles in some way. So when you start to use drugs in that capacity to function, You have to train yourself to think a different way, and that's extremely hard, especially if you're used to just making yourself feel good with external things.
Mm. What should
That's why
listeners be
people,
aware of? What should listeners be aware of when it comes to supporting somebody who might be struggling?
that's a really tricky situation because unfortunately, you can be there for someone, you can listen to them, you could help them if they want to go into treatment, but there's really not much you could do if they don't want to help themselves. And I feel like that's where it's good if you're dealing with someone with addiction to go to something like an Al-Anon, because they teach you those kind of things. When you love someone, you want to save them or help them. You feel like you could sometimes bully them into doing different things. Unfortunately, none of those things are true. A person has to want to change. And when it comes to addiction, they have to change everything about themselves.
Mm. Got you. Got you. You're right. You're absolutely right. A person can't change unless they want to change. They have to
Hmm.
want it themselves because if not, they're gonna chase the other thing more. Um.
They have to revamp their whole life.
Uh oh. Uh oh.
They have
Hold on one
to
second.
stop hanging out with people. Can you still hear me or no?
Yeah, I can still hear you. I got you, man. I got you, man.
Uh, you have to stop hanging out with all the people that you use with. You have to stay away from your dealers. So a lot of times when I did the inpatient detox, we would tell people throw away your cell. At that point they had more disposable phones, like so. Throw away your cell phone, get a new number,
Yeah.
move to a different town. And it sounds extreme, and people will say, "Oh, you want me to leave my family and this and that?" And it's like, well, maybe not forever, but at least for a period of time, because our surroundings are what create the person we are to
Mm.
some degree. So
Okay.
if your life or your addiction is, based or rooted somewhere and you don't change certain aspects of it, it's very difficult to overcome. And
Mm.
when you are around people that you use with, or family members that trigger you, or people who are the root of your trauma, or so on and so forth, it becomes more difficult to stay clean at that point. So,
Hmm. Interesting. I'm gonna say, right, my next question was what were some key takeaways that our listeners can remember? And it was gonna be asked to you, but I'm gonna answer the question since Kia's not here to develop develop her story that she was planning on doing. Um so I'm gonna say from what you said, what do we have here?
Hey,
Hello.
hey,
Hey, are you okay?
hey, my bad.
Oh,
Lost
you're
track of
fine.
time.
You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. I didn't know. I
Hey,
was.
hey,
I thought something may be
hey,
going on.
honey, how are ya?
I'm alright. How you?
Oh, good.
All right. So, you really haven't missed much. I have a question for you, though. I really, really have a question that I'm gonna bring up for you right now. You know, as we have dove into some of this, I would like to ask you, Keya. Do you mind sharing any personal experiences on overdose or suicide? Uh, yeah. Would you like to share anything?
Um, yeah, I got one in both situations.
Okay.
Um, two people in my neighborhood that I was close with just overdosed, and then a couple years ago, one of my best friends, we've been friends since kindergarten, and she ended up committing suicide in her car one night after we had got off from work. And we was all supposed to be linking up, and literally she called at the last minute and was like, I'm not coming, I don't want to go out tonight. So like we like, all right, cool, we just gonna pull up on you, we not gonna go out, we just gonna come over to your house. And like literally she kept on saying no, she just wanted to be by herself, she just wanted to go to sleep. And we like, all right, cool, we did work a double that day, so like, we left her alone. We like, all right, so maybe she just tired and being moody. The next morning, we barely even made it all the way through to the morning. Like 5:30, 6 o'clock that morning, her mom was calling us, getting us all up and like telling everybody to meet us at over at their house. And it was just so bad.
Mm, it's horrible. Sorry you went through that.
Like it was so bad.
Sorry you went through that right there.
I think
Um,
that was the hardest. I think that was the hardest.
Absolutely, I get it. I get it. And I once again I'm gonna apologize to you for that right there. Um, and what I want to do right this second is I'm gonna skip that and go right here. Hold on one second. What do we have? I know I put all this together correctly. Anyways, as we as we continue our conversation, it's crucial to talk about recognizing the warning signs of drug overdose and suicide thoughts. Understanding these signs can be a life saving and help us support those in need. It can be life saving in helping us support those in need. Can you share some of the most common warning signs of drug overdose and suicidal thoughts? And I'm going to ask both of you this question, and I'll start with Keya since you just came in. Can you share some of the most common warning signs of drug overdose and suicidal thoughts?
Um, so with the drug overdose, like the most that I really see is like, when they eyes start rolling to the back of their head and like they trying really hard to open up their eyes and get their eyes back down to like, the foaming at the mouth, the marks on the arms. Um, like that's really the only thing that comes to mind for real, because that's really all that I've been exposed to. I haven't really dealt with anything outside of like, the regular stuff that I deal with.
Okay.
But
Okay. May, can I get you to answer this question? What are some Oh, go ahead.
Slurred speech is another one.
Mhm.
If they have slurred speech or they're not making any sense when they talk.
Okay.
Tremors, they can get tremors in their body. They could have loss of bladder or bowel function, which means they pee and poop themselves in more layman's terms. They could have a seizure.
Okay.
There's all different things, but
Early warning signs that I would say is probably some shit coming up missing. Shit always starting to come up missing. Shit coming up missing. There's a big one. And paranoia and jumpy. I'm saying I know I when I was when I came in contact with it, that's what it was. So that's what I noticed. Um, if you guys notice, I started putting all the crisis helplines here at the bottom. I want everybody to pay attention to those helplines. Those helplines are helping, engaging, and they will help somebody out of a situation. Um, for from your experiences, what signs do you notice in loved ones that others might overlook? Like Keya, let me ask you. You spoke about loved ones. What signs would you say you noticed that others might overlook and not even see?
so like it's not funny, but it's funny because like I'm the moodiest person that I could think of
Mm-hmm.
to describe, but like I don't do drugs like that. But like that's that's one of the main things that I could think about. Like, okay. Um, and then I don't know, like the depressive state. Like you can tell when somebody starts to separate.
Okay.
Like so like the more they separate and isolate themselves and like, become nonchalant and not wanting to do anything.
Okay. Okay. I go for it, even though I know
You don't have
there's
no
other.
choice but to go for it because that's what I thought
Yeah, I
when I
get
got
it.
that.
I get it. I get it. But somebody separating themselves by itself exactly. It could be some other reason. It could be they could be not feeling the situation no more. But I get it. I definitely get it. These are signs from people
who are having a bit of issues and problems, especially depression. Depression will make you want to stay away from people and not be bothered. So I can definitely understand that right there. Um, the substance abuse helpline is once again at the bottom. I want to remind everybody there's different ones that are going to be here, and they're all for help. And I thank you guys. I thank you guys all for being here and listening. Okay. Can you, May? I believe this question is for you. Can you provide an overview of the current policies in place to address these issues right here? Do you know anything about policies in place to address these issues with these the substance abuse hotlines and suicide prevention hotlines? Do you know any policies?
Well, I mean, I know that there's been a wide distribution of Narcan. I know
Mm,
that most people, if they're in any kind of profession that has to do with public safety, now carry it on their person. Um, there definitely are always 211 numbers that you can call. There's the suicide prevention hotline, like we put up. There's something called that most people wouldn't know about is called mobile crisis. So most places have what's called a mobile crisis line, which is if you have a family member that's being abusive or is being abused, or there's something outside of your control that's not DCF related, you can call the mobile crisis hotline and they can come evaluate the person. Um, kind of like you see on TV with the intervention thing. And they could have them sometimes, depending on the situation, if they're being harmful to themselves or others, you could actually have them papered and sent to somewhere to get help and treatment, even without their consent. And those laws kind of vary by state.
mm-hmm.
In some states, even if the person is not acting erratically, but there is an issue, as long as it's two immediate family members, they can still have the person papered, which means um, admitted without their consent to be
Mm,
treated regardless. But again, those are things that vary kind of from state to state. So you'd really have to look and see what the legislation is where you live.
okay.
But what is very general, again, is all the suicide hotlines. I know there's communities online that also offer support in terms of people that are looking for either, if you're lonely or if you have other issues. I think it's called Angel something. I'd have to look it up. I can't remember the exact name right now,
I can't
but
remember it
it's
either, but I
24
know exactly
hours.
what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. And
Yes,
and it's a 24-hour thing where you could talk to people when you're depressed or lonely.
yes,
Cuz that's another big driving force for addiction is loss, grief. Um, you know, it's a we
what's wrong?
you could actually die of a broken
Of a
failure to
broken
thrive.
heart. Yes, that's right. You're right. I played The Sims
So,
before.
yeah, you can die of a broken heart. It's called failure to thrive. So people, especially couples that have been together for a long time, they can actually die once the other one dies. And
That's how it happens.
unfortunately, everyone processes things differently. So some people cannot process grief, and it
Yep.
becomes very overwhelming to them. They
True.
lose their job, their spouses, everything. And at that point, it's easy to turn to addiction, especially alcohol, because it's extremely accepted in society. It's everywhere you go.
Yep. Yep. You're right.
A lot of
You're right.
times that's the hardest addiction to overcome because you can't even go to a 7-Eleven without there being alcohol there.
That's true.
So,
One of the biggest drugs on the market, tobacco and alcohol. The most addictive drugs on
yeah.
the planet, tobacco and alcohol.
Well, and it's everywhere. And like, for especially with the alcohol, most people drink.
Yep.
So you become outcasted. Like, then what? Then you can't go to any family parties. Of course, depending on your level of addiction and so on and so
That's
forth. But
true.
most people who are true addicts cannot manage their addiction in that way.
Mm,
So it becomes debilitating and it can be very discouraging and sad.
absolutely.
Especially if you see everybody else having a good time and you're kind of sitting there. So again, it's about changing your whole life. It's about changing your perspectives, the way you look at things, the way you think.
Okay, absolutely, absolutely. So, I would like to have something down there on the bottom. What are their strengths and areas of improvement? But I don't. That's not what I meant to ask. I meant to ask, what strengths and room improvements do we need? Do we need? I see myself, right? If I look at myself, I really, I'm not. I focus more on work than anything right now. So, I don't really. I'm not really drinking socially like that, and I don't really like drinking because it makes me feel bloated, and then I have to use the bathroom all the time, and I really don't like that shit. So, I also don't like my equilibrium being off. I don't like that right there at all. So therefore, I kind of stand back a little bit. I may drink just a little bit every once in a blue, but it's not really it's not, so improvement for me would be to stop smoking so much weed. That'll be my improvement for me. Um, to slow down on those. THC is what I don't drink alcohol. I do THC. So I mean yeah, that for me that would be that would be slowing down that, or even quitting at some point. Yeah, that right there would be improvement for me. How about you? I know you look at me crazy, but I don't
So
mean,
I'm definitely not quitting the THC. That's
I'm
just
probably not either, but I'm saying, it's not like my thought isn't like, okay, how can I improve it? Like, how can I improve myself? I told you, this is a journey about improving ourselves. Not
and
only
honestly,
improving
I
ourselves,
don't
but giving people jewels. Maybe somebody out there
I think
cannot.
that
Yeah, go ahead.
But I think that it's mostly in America that we have these problems, and it's
Ooh,
because
ooh,
we are geared to excess.
ooh.
Most other countries have recreational drug use. If, the only time drugs are an issue is when people make them an issue.
Okay, I go for it.
Realistically,
I
no,
go for it.
realistically, think about it.
I think
If
if
you
it
don't
hinders a person
abuse,
from, I think if it hinders a person and doesn't allow them to be productive, then I believe it's a problem.
right, but that's not recreational then.
Hmm.
If you're using something recreationally,
Yeah.
then it does not interfere with your everyday life, right? Even smoking cigarettes. If you're a person who has to go out and smoke every 10 minutes, it's affecting your life. If you're having 3 cigarettes on a Saturday when you're being social with your friends, is it really bad?
But who does
No.
that? That carries over. That carries over. Who does that?
So
Cigarettes are
listen,
addictive.
and they're
well,
expensive as hell
people
nowadays too.
who are
Shit, I'm
not
a
in
cigarette
America view
smoker.
drugs
They
different.
expensive.
What'd you say, May?
It's a I said that people who are not in America view drugs and alcohol differently,
Yeah, they do.
and this is
They do.
why it becomes an issue, because realistically, if you did something regardless of what it was once in a while, you wouldn't have a problem. Even heroin at one point had its place. They were giving it
Hmm.
to the soldiers in the fields
Hmm.
so that they could amputate their legs and arms and do whatever the fuck else they
They
had to
do
do to
do
them.
that. They still
The
use
the
heroin
the
for that. And I
intent,
know.
right, the intent was not to carry over into recreational use.
That's true.
Same thing with prescription medication. If you have a surgery and you use the medication the way the doctor prescribes it, you're not going to be addicted. But what happens is people get excessive, or they like the way it makes them feel, or they take it, every 2 hours. That's not what it's for. You're supposed to only utilize it if you absolutely have to. But that's
Hmm.
not how people do it. And then that's what the problem becomes.
Okay.
And then here's the issue.
Okay.
Like, even in terms, and this is where a lot of the people when I did detox would get upset when they would come in with the opiate addictions. But it's like, as a person, right, as myself, if a doctor prescribed me a medication that they told me to only use if necessary, and I used it the maximum amount of time or under, like in too short of a time, I myself would say, whoa, this isn't a good thing. I got to dial it back. Right.
Okay. But see,
And
how are
that's
you
with
gonna know that?
anything.
How are you
Like,
gonna know that if you are the one that
you
is
you
hooked on
know
the that
you
hook
know
that
if
you
the if
know it,
you're
but you
if
don't want to
you're
stop
reading,
it?
right, but then that's why it's nobody's fault but your own, because if you're already aware that you have the issue, then you have to make the change.
Yeah, but
Do you understand what
it's
I'm
a mental
saying?
illness. That's a mental illness, and it's clarified as a
Well,
mental illness.
they're trying to say no. Well, that's only if you have an access to. They're trying to say that addiction is a disease,
Okay.
and it's a little bit different. They say that, so if there's an axis two, then that means that you're schizophrenic or bipolar or something else that goes along with your addiction, ADHD, so on and so forth. But you don't have to have that technically to be an addict, so they say.
You don't have to have what? Let me ask you just to be precise.
A, a diagnosis of a mental illness or a
Yeah,
mental illness.
you don't have to have a mental illness to become an addict or commit suicide. You don't have to have a mental illness. I don't believe you do. You know,
Nope, you don't.
what I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna say this to anybody really. Now, drugs are a different order, and I say it's a mental illness, and it is, anybody who would, you know, get hooked on a drug and have a child, and then be more worried about getting the drug than taking care of the child. I mean, that right there is that's definitely something wrong with the chemical balance in their mind. So I wouldn't say that it's a disease because yes, diseases can be beaten and stuff like that, but diseases are something that in a lot of cases stick with you your whole life. Uh, it's more of a mental thing to me, and I don't know, doctors may say it's a disease, and that's cool, they could say it's a disease, but I know people from the street, and me myself, I was in the street and I smoked weed all day every day, but I was productive. See, that's the key factor, and the key factor I use is productive. If you're not productive, I met an old guy one time and he told me, whatever you do, make sure you can still work and do you while you're doing it. If you can't, then you need to leave it the fuck alone. That's what he told me. If you
Yeah,
can't handle
I
what
heard
the
the old
fuck
head
you're
say that.
doing, leave that shit the fuck alone because it's not for you. And I'm gonna say, May, just on the strength, like seriously, it's a mental. These people are dealing with mental issues when they have $10 to their name, and the only thing they can think about is spending that $10 on going to get something.
I
That's a
agree
fuck.
with you. And I personally, I mean, but this again is my personal opinion, not a medical fact. I believe that, most people who are addicts have impulse control disorders, because at the end of the day, again, regardless of whether or not something feels vile, and then stop it or change it or not do it all the time.
Okay.
Like, I like having a cocktail if I go out, but I'm not getting shit faced drunk and drinking a gallon of vodka a day and throwing up all over myself and
You're
not
not
going to work
alcoholic.
and
If you were
There's a
alcoholic, you couldn't help yourself. If you were alcoholic, it would happen automatically, and then you'd wonder why the fuck you keep doing this, but then you just keep fucking doing it. You know, I know people just like that. They're alcoholics. I know people who are alcoholics. I know plenty of them. And for real, by the end of the day, they're crying, but they're crying out of depression. And then they ask themselves, they just don't know why. They want to stop drinking, but then every fucking other day they find themselves with a fucking bottle in their hand. And as many times you tell them that that they need to put it down, they'll tell you in your face that they're gonna put it down, but as soon as you're not looking, they'll pick that bitch right back up. That's an alcoholic. They can't help it. It's a mental thing. Um, I bring these things up and I ask these things and we talk about these things because uh, these things need to be talked about. These things need to be brought out. People need to be brought out and told for real about their issue, about their habits, about what they do and what they're doing to other people. These are facts that we need to do because it not only affects the person that's doing it to themselves, suicide affects a whole bunch of people after that. So, same thing with drug abuse. Drug abuse will hurt not only the person doing the drugs, but everybody who comes in contact and love that person is going to be hurt. And these things need to be talked about.
absolutely. But the problem is that people who are addicts don't really care how they affect other people, uh,
They do
even
care. They
until
care.
they hit rock
I was
bottom.
gonna say I
They care.
disagree.
They care. They care. They care a lot, and it hurts
I don't
them.
think they
But they
care.
don't know how to change it. May once you slip inside that boat and you drift out that sea, for real, you can see that you're trying to do right, but that boat just keeps taking you further and further out, man.
I've done drug and alcohol detox, and they will tell you flat up they don't give a fuck. I had some guy
Oh
whose
well,
5 year old
that's some of the
found him
people down there. 'Cause
three
I ain't staying
times.
out here.
Okay,
Listen,
I
three
can't say that
times
she's
with the
wrong.
needle in the arm.
Yeah,
I seen him 3 times. The guy, the 5 year old found him OD 3 times with the needle in his arm, and he said it's not that I don't love her, but I love to get high more. They're married to the high, like that is their
that's
main
true. That's
focus.
true. But did
That
you see what you just
and don't get
said?
me wrong,
He said he loves her. He said he loves her, but he can't help
right?
it. He can't help that right there. He can't help that. She don't like for real the euphoria. Like just think about your experience in life. Some things gave you a higher euphoria or a better result inside your mind than others. And though you may not be able to get it again or find it again, you still wish that it fucking happened. You see what I'm saying? So you
Right, but there's when it thinks something becomes detrimental to your person,
yeah,
that's when you have to reevaluate it.
true.
And
But
again,
are
when
they in the
you
right
are
mind
okay,
too?
and so then here's my other thing, right? If you really did feel bad or care about the other person or so on and so forth, even if you couldn't get clean, you wouldn't subject them to it. But instead, they stay in those situations because they still want the relationship regardless of how it's affecting another person. So, like the guy with the 5 year old, you should remove yourself until you're clean and not doing whatever. But instead, you're shooting up in front of your kid because you're too selfish to care how it affects the child. You just want the relationship for yourself.
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. He stays there because he does want the relationship with the child, but he don't know what to do about the drugs. See what I'm saying? So the drugs, yeah,
Some
they're
people
still
want the
prevalent.
help, but it be too late when it's time for them to actually get the help that they want. Like listen, I literally just lost somebody not even a whole day ago from an
I'll be back in
overdose.
2 seconds, guys.
All right, well,
And
Kia,
literally,
Kia, I
huh?
understand exactly what you're talking about, and I definitely understand and feel it because I know plenty of people on that route or been in that route or people that I used to know that passed away from it. Um, these things right here, and this is why yesterday when I came to you and asked you, about a topic, what we was going to talk about.
Yeah.
I was so glad that you came out and said something like this because These things once again they need to be talked about, but they need to be talked about right, and people really need to understand and not be so heartless and think that these people are heartless people. They're not heartless people or heartless drugs.
No, it's the drug that got them. The drug is what's controlling them.
That's exactly what I was trying to speak to May. It's a mental thing. These people are going through
It's like
hell.
she has a preconceived bias against it already,
I
so
mean,
it
she's a
doesn't really.
doctor, right? Doctors are
I
like
mean,
that, aren't
yeah,
they?
but even still, all doctors are not supposed to have a
Well, she's
preconceived
not a
bias
doctor
behind
per se, but she's a medical
whatever. However,
person.
you're in the
You,
healthcare
you,
field,
you,
and
you know
regardless,
what I'm
they teach
saying?
you you're not supposed to have the preconceived bias. That is considered a preconceived bias,
It's
whether
like
she
a
wants to
cop.
admit to it or
It's
not.
like a cop, and everybody he see, he automatically think they criminals. She doing the same shit, but she from the medical
Yeah,
field, and we can't do that as a
you can't do
society.
that.
We can't really do that, and we have to
And that's how
understand.
come a lot of people don't want to talk about their problems. A lot of people won't
Absolutely,
handle and go see somebody and talk to them about their depression, talk to them about
absolutely,
their anxiety or their PTSD. And
absolutely,
that's what triggers a whole lot of the suicidal thoughts that come behind people on drugs. People feel as though because they're on drugs, people automatically are going to treat them differently. They act like they're
absolutely,
not humans,
absolutely. You're absolutely
but
right.
they're still a human at the end of the day.
Absolutely, May. We were just talking about how I just spoke about how um doctors, nurses, police, all of these professions see things one way, and they teach y'all clinically to see this way. Clinically, this is what happens, and the person has, a disease, whether it be mental disease or whatever, however it go forth. I'm not one of those people, so I don't want to speak on it too much. But I will say this: I will say that doctrine that they go by is not necessarily correct. Life is life, and those people who are on drugs, they're not heartless people who have no emotion and feeling towards nobody. Actually, they're people who can't figure out what to do about something that has control over them. There's some people who cigarettes have so much of control over them, they smoke 3, 4 packs a day. They don't want to. They don't want to spend $50 on those 4 packs, but they need that fucking cigarette.
It's $60.
Well, I don't know. I don't
My
smoke
bad.
cigarettes either.
I'm just letting you know. My bad. I had to get that corrected. 60
I just seen
four,
the nigga.
right?
I'm
What you say,
And
May?
okay. So here's the problem. I am a
Yes,
nurse,
yes, ma'am.
and I've done a lot of different things with mental illness and addiction.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, when the day ends, you have to take responsibility and follow through with the treatment. And
True.
89% of the time, they do not. When I did drug and alcohol detox inpatient, and I did it in 3 different facilities, we would have people come in on their 976th admission.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, some of the people were there genuinely trying to get clean,
Mm-hmm.
but we had a great majority that would come in and tell you things like, I'm just here because I can't get high anymore. Or I'm just here because it's snowing out tonight and I don't want to sleep outside. Um, I'm just here because I don't have any money to get high and I don't want to get sick. And I mean, they will tell you these things.
Okay.
They bring drugs on the units. It's a lot deeper than people think. Okay, it's like homeless people. I go through this all the time with the whole thing with homeless people. I work with I work with a great majority of clients that are quote unquote homeless. We put them in shelters, we get them whatever, but they don't want to follow through. They don't want to work the 20 hours. They don't want to get rid of their dog. They don't want to have to comply to anything. And unfortunately, that is not reality. Okay. Reality doesn't say that you could just do whatever you want to do and people have to feel sorry for you and take care of you. That's not reality. Reality is we are providing you with these services, which you're not working for 90% of the time, right? We're giving you everything. We're giving you the bus pass. We had a lady that would sell her fucking bus pass to go to her appointments
Yeah.
for 50
Yeah.
cents to go to Lucy at the store.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, at that
Yeah.
point, you're not a victim. That is a choice you're making. Okay? And it's not everyone's responsibility to tiptoe around you while you are not doing the right thing. And
Okay.
so, to a point, yes, the people who do these jobs, we do feel sorry for you. We do want to help you, but you have to help yourself.
Mm.
Okay, so since the stuff that we technically have in place right now isn't currently working, how do we improve it? How do we make it known
Good
so that we
question.
can help?
Good question. What do you
How do
think,
we
May?
fix that? You're
What's
in
your
the medical
idea of
field,
that?
so I want your opinion on it.
What's your opinion on that? That's a good one.
Oh, she froze up.
Oh, my bad, my bad. Okay, ask me the question because I'm gonna answer. Excuse me, I'm eating sweet tarts. Anyways, so while May's coming back, ask me the question. What you say?
So what are the ways that we improve this? How do we fix this? If she's
I
basically saying
think.
that,
I think. How do we fix this? I think that that's a choice. I think that if that person wants to do that drug, I'm sorry, they're going to find it with you or without you. They're a grown
exactly.
person. I think that everybody should be able to make their choice. So, what I think is the government, with all these regulations and laws, to not only make money, but to try to chastise the people that do such actions. Um, they have to understand that if they're going to make money off of tobacco, alcohol, um, they put heroin inside Novocaine and all them canes that they use. If they're going to do this right here, then people have the right to do as they want. If this man wants to, if the doctor goes and tells this man that he's going to die if he has another cigarette, which I know some people who've done that before, and they take out another fucking cigarette and choose to smoke it, I don't think we should have the right to stop anybody from doing anything they want. For real.
I mean, but Ali, but just think
I don't know
about
how
it.
to stop it. The government already puts it in front of you. They put these drugs in front of you, and the cartels and all these people bring these drugs in front of you,
But listen,
give it to you.
but this is what I'm saying. I can understand that everybody has their own choice to make, right? But once again, a lot of people that get stuck on drugs and that have the hardest time kicking it have experienced some type of traumatic experiences
That's
in
true.
their life,
That's true.
maybe in their
You're right.
childhood,
You're
which they
right.
can handle. So if they're not comfortable enough to find the help and even talk to somebody first, how do we get them at the point where they feel open enough to find somebody that they can talk to? Find somebody that they can be able to build that trust with, that way that they can try to get a clear mindset.
That's hard, Keya. That's hard. For one, inside their neighborhoods, it becomes hard because everybody knows them for doing certain things. So people will, um, if a person ever tries to get clean, somebody's not going to know that they're trying to get clean, and they're still trying to make money, and they're known. So they're going to come up to them again and try to offer them something. Um, I mean, it's really hard. That's the reason why people build these lavish recovery places in these far off places to get them the fuck away from where they're at. And I agree with that. I have a brother right now that is on drugs, and um, my brother right now is on
I'm
drugs.
sorry about that.
You're
I got
fine.
kicked
You're
out. What
fine,
were you
man.
saying, Keya?
There you go. You can ask your question now, Kia. I'll tell my story in a little bit. Okay,
What was your question, Keya?
you were talking about how do we change it, Kia?
Oh,
What?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
how do we
well,
put that in place?
you can't change it because people have to be willing to be responsible, and that's the problem. I mean, obviously there's certain things we could change, like, you know our government has to, stop letting all these drugs come into our country. Obviously, the fentanyl,
I just
the
spoke about that.
xylitine, which is honestly the most horrific drug I've ever seen in my whole life. I did a dressing not too long ago, and the woman's leg was almost completely gone. I don't know if you guys have had any
No,
experience with that or heard
no,
about
I'm an
it.
old time hustler. All I know is about her,
It's
him,
a new
and them.
form. It's a new form of I guess, heroin, fentanyl, but it has some
Okay.
kind of horse or some other kind of tranquilizer in it, and it
Oh,
literally
oh, that's
eats
that
your
shit.
flesh.
That's that shit I seen on TV. The drug shit on TV. Drugs Inc. Yeah, I seen it. I seen it
Yeah, it's
before.
like and it literally puts holes in your skin and eats your flesh. It's so
Yeah, I
disturbing, but
seen it. Now that you say that,
people
holes in your flesh.
people love the high. So again,
Straight,
there's
super
nothing
straight.
anyone else can do to convince anyone. It's like, okay, Keya, you smoke cigarettes. I'm a nurse. I could tell you from now until the end of July all the things that are going to happen to you if you keep smoking, but is that going to make you quit? So, so what do? Can I come there and hold your hand so you can't smoke? Can I take your money from you so you can't buy cigarettes? What within the legal realms of society can I do to force you to not do something you want to do?
Nothing. You can't do shit.
Right? Which is why the war on drugs is a joke. The war on drugs was formulated to create jobs through mental health,
Jail.
police,
Yeah.
jail, right?
Yeah.
Them privatizing jail.
I know
That's
that.
the only reason why drugs are illegal,
I just got done speaking
because
about that.
they made money off of it. Because again, you can't stop people from doing what they want to do.
Thank you. Thank
It's
you
like
very much. You
that
backed
side
up what I
chick.
said.
Listen, that side chick, right? She's gonna keep fucking your man no matter what, because she doesn't care what you want, because she wants your man. So it's the same pretense.
Okay.
You ain't gonna stop her no matter how many times you beat her up, no matter how many times you drag her through the street. She's still doing what she wants with your dude, right?
I guess so. I guess.
It's that's the way life goes. So it's just like that with drugs and alcohol. If somebody wants to do something and they don't want to make the changes that are necessary, that's it.
I'm gonna find out because like I was about to say, I have a brother and he's on drugs. And as soon as I see him, I'm gonna choke shit out of him. And then we gonna see what the fuck going on.
Right?
I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do. I don't want him like that. So we got to figure that one out. But yes, there's nothing you can really do. And yes, I agree with you. The government did put these laws in effect to not only make money and incarcerate people and this, that, and the third, but yes, they did. And that's why these
Well,
things are
they
prevalent.
also put no, let's take it further. Like, let's be real. They put the drugs on the streets as well.
I said that
They
too.
make money off of it.
I said that too.
There is nothing that we have that they don't allow us to have. Let's be
Absolutely.
realistic.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They can find you no matter what.
Yep.
So you're going to tell me that they can't prevent these things from happening? Of course they can.
You're
But it's a
right.
moneymaker. They put crack into the black communities in the 80s so that they could marginalize the minorities further and use them again in the privatized prisons. And for the police, if you go back and look at the 1984 bill that Joe Biden bragged about so vehemently, it came with hiring, it was like 50,000 more police officers.
Yep.
It's crazy. It's just crazy
That's right.
how strategic it is the way that they do things, even with the fentanyl.
Absolutely.
The opiate.
I didn't mean to cut you off, May. Pardon me,
No, you're
pardon me,
fine.
May. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's random time.
You're fine.
And what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna say, what skills have you always wanted to learn but haven't had a chance to yet? And I'm gonna start with May since I cut her off. What skills have you always wanted to learn but haven't had a chance to yet?
If I could have any skill in the world, I would want to be a polyglot.
A what?
A polyglot. Do you know what a polyglot is? Someone
Inform me.
someone who fluently speaks multiple languages.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Keya, how about you?
I don't know. I ain't never think about it.
No? You ain't never think about that shit?
Hell no. Because I'm
Okay.
always picking up a different skill anyway. So like, regardless of
Mm,
what it is, like I started out working in a nursing home, and then I
mm,
ended up switching into food, and then I
okay.
ended up working at a dry cleaners, trying to
Okay.
pick up that business. Like, you know what I mean? Like I bounce back and forth a whole lot, so I'm always looking at something different.
Okay.
So like, what I don't know one that I want to learn that I
Mm.
haven't yet even hit on. Like I can't really think of anything. Cake decorating. There we go. I can't decorate a
Okay.
cake with shit, but I can make a cake. I
Oh,
can make a busting ass cake, but I cannot decorate it like real fancy and real pretty. Like,
okay.
hell no, I can't do that yet.
See, I want you to make me a cake, and then I want you to make all the frosting like a lion head, like a real lion shit with all the
Yeah,
detailing
see, we
that
ain't get
fits
that
and
far
everything.
yet, baby. We
No.
no, we ain't get that
Oh, I
far.
need that though. I need that. I need that
All
right
right,
there.
cool. So after I learn that skill, then I got you. But
Yeah,
right
there you
now,
go.
I can make it with some fruit.
Yeah, there you go right there. Yeah, yeah.
I can make a
Okay.
fruit tray like a lion, but I cannot do a cake.
Okay. I got you. I got you. Um,
Yeah.
a skill I want to learn but haven't had a chance to yet. A skill I want to learn is probably, yo, for real. I want to fly fighter jets. Yeah, I want to fly fighter jets. Big ass planes, fast ass planes. You know what I'm saying? Therefore, when the zombie apocalypse come, I can go ahead and fly my ass out of here. What? I'm in the sky, nigga. Fuck
Yeah.
y'all. I'm joking. I'm joking. Or am I? So I got something special for y'all tonight. Ladies, I want y'all to follow along. I got something really special for you guys tonight. We'll be right back.
Seventh Sun Entertainment, your new destination.
Get your visuals done today. Contact 7 Sun Entertainment at 7 Sun Entertainment at gmail.com.
Keya, the floor is yours.
I just knew you was ready to hit me with that as soon as you played that. All right, guys. Welcome to our segment on advocacy. Um, May and I are going to explain how to make a difference in the drug and overdose and suicide prevention. So, May, what
Yes.
we doing, sis? How we doing it? Like, what's some
Well,
organizations where people can go to?
again, that is more difficult because it really depends on what you have in your town, in your state. But the things that are national are things like Al Anon or, obviously AA. There's also 211 in most places. But I think that the most important thing that we lack in society right now, as far as advocacy goes, is not allowing people to get to that point in the first place. I think that as we raise children and as we have our families and as we grow up, we need to get back to a sense of community and understanding, because when you look at addiction as a whole, people who are addicted all have the same kind of complaints. They have severe trauma, they're lonely, they're depressed, they don't feel worth anything. And those are all things that come from not having a good support system. So, first and foremost, outside of any other thing in a person's life, they need a solid support system. And so, what I encourage people is that even if your immediate family is not, go and find your people. Find people who can do activities that don't involve drugs and alcohol, that make you feel happy, and people who make you feel supported, because it really makes the biggest difference. The people who have long-term success go to stuff. Oh, another thing I'm a big advocate of is things like DBT groups. If you, again, that would depend on what state you're in. Uh, Out here in Connecticut, we have IOL, we have CHR, CHD is another one. And those programs, within those programs, they offer things like inpatient or outpatient, um, where you can get different types of help depending on the level of care you need. But if you're struggling with mental illness, or you're struggling with functioning, or you're struggling with addiction, I think a good DBT group where they actually help you to identify your stressors, identify the things that are triggering you, and then help you to counteract them with productive skills, and coping skills and other things. And I really feel that that's the best place to start. I am not an advocate for things like Suboxone and whatnot, only because I feel like it still keeps you in a state of active addiction. But some people disagree with me, and of course, that's a personal preference. There are a lot of people who do function very well on it, and I think that at that point, it comes down to what Ali said. It really only becomes a problem if you can't sustain your life. So if you are someone who needs the Suboxone because you were using for pain or other issues, and you are working and successful in life, more power to you. If you are someone where things like that actually trigger you to use, then obviously it's not a good thing. So that's kind of six in one hand, half dozen in the other. But again,
Absolutely.
you have
Keep
to
going,
look
Keya.
at your look at your community. Call your community resource centers. Call your mental health centers. There are programs everywhere.
All right,
Absolutely.
so I know out here the police department helps out. Like you can literally call them, or you can pop up at the police department and they give you the resources that you need, and like a list of different places that you can call and get help with. If you need to go to the shelter, I know that they take you there. They help get you situated with caseworkers. Um, they A lot of the places that work with the substance abuse and mental health, they have been getting an increase in funding to try to improve the prevention programs that they have out there. So like, what's a different awareness technique or a different way to make people more aware?
You asking me or
More
May?
aware. More
Either
aware of what?
one. More aware of, like, how to prevent the drug overdoses and substance abuse, and like how do we spread the awareness in the communities.
Well, I think that it's like we said. You have to give people a support system. People become addicts, again, from trauma, depression, partying, all these things. So if you're a good support system and you're there for the person and you can help them cope without drugs, obviously that's the best case scenario. Once someone is in active addiction, you can always point them in the right direction. But again, it has to be something that they want to do. The things you could do for yourself are go to somewhere like Al Anon, where they teach you that it is not your responsibility and that the person has to choose for themselves. But I want to just say, this relates to what we're talking about, Keya, but just on a little bit different topic here. So when we get locked into these things, like these depression and so on and so forth, our brain is set up like a Google search, right? So that's what
Hmm.
PTSD is. When you have PTSD, there's a traumatic event that is continuously triggered in your brain through external things, whether it be things you see or smell or hear or taste, so on and so forth. Anyone who knows how a computer works knows that the way the computer works is when you put in the first couple letters or the first couple keywords, it pulls up everything you've searched or anything that's related to those two topics. So our brain does the same thing. If you have had a trauma or if you're depressed, or it could be a plethora of things in your life. Everything from your childhood brings up some kind of memory in your adulthood. And when you fall into these things like depression, addiction, anxiety, a lot of times it's because all of the cookies and or information in your Google search are negative. So the thing we can do is much like a computer where you could um, throw away your cache and get rid of all your cookies and so on and so forth. You could do the same thing with your mind. And the way you do that is when you start to spiral or have the negative thought or have, whatever emotional response, they tell you that you're supposed to close your eyes so that you can reset your brain, take a deep breath and count to 10. And then when you open your eyes, you're supposed to tell yourself something positive out loud because your brain processes your voice differently externally than it does internally. So we'll use an example. Um, let's say I've been
No, I
depressed for a week.
understand. I understand what you're saying. It makes
Right.
sense.
So this is how we
Allee,
do
what
it.
you gonna
So
do though?
What you say? Hold on, let me come back.
I said, well, what you gonna do for awareness?
What I'm gonna do for awareness?
Yeah, what you gonna do to bring the awareness to the community?
I mean, I do things like this. I bring shows together like this that talk about things like that and highlight hotlines and key events. I not only do
Ooh,
this,
I got a
I
busting idea for you.
what you mean what?
Ooh, I just had a busting idea. We could do like one of those in the neighborhood community podcasts, like walk around and actually
Absolutely,
talk to people and get their
absolutely,
opinion
absolutely. I would love to do more things like that. Absolutely,
That'll be
I'm
fire.
definitely in
So I just
agreement.
thought about it when you
You're
said the
fine.
podcast and everything.
You're
And
fine.
I'm
But
just
you asked me
throwing
what
that
I
in.
do to bring awareness. I definitely I make shows. I definitely do events. I definitely do I'll definitely go and do some community service. I'll definitely see homeless people, help homeless people. I basically have I basically always had a heart. It's not like I've never had a heart or I see somebody who is really hurting and not be willing to help them, even if I am hurting at the time. I seem to still extend my hand a lot of times. Um, so that's what I do. That right there is what I do. I'm gonna let you guys continue. I got a couple more slides for you. Key, I just want you to go ahead and feed the people the information. I know this came quick, but yet and still we didn't get a chance to go through this before. All right, so just bear with me.
Okay. So, social media campaigns and community events organized by the Society for Prevention of Teen Suicide has proven effective. A study shows that 20.4 million American adults suffer from both mental health and substance use disorders.
What advocacy efforts have you participated in, and what is the outcome? It says share with us. This is for anybody who's watching, and I would like to say that I'm sorry I did not have a chance to coerce this with my co-host ahead of time, but yet and still they're about to get in line because we're about to start doing things like this. Um, Usually, I want to highlight you two. I really want you two. I really want you two to come up here and shine on something. You know what I'm saying? So, what I have is questions for the audience right here, and the audience, it's what advocacy efforts have you participated in, and what was the outcome? I want you to share with us at hashtag the gag order. Please share with us. You can continue. You can continue, Keya.
So I want to answer this question first because um, I got an answer for it. So, what challenges do you face in advocacy and how can we overcome them together? So, I feel like the biggest part of the challenges that we face today with it would be the fact that a lot of people aren't open minded to just listening and hearing the people out. Like, I feel like because they don't have that active support system, that, like, being an effective listener can really help out, and it helps out better than you would think that it would, or like more than you would expect it to or know. Like, just having somebody to talk to about some of the stuff that you be going through, it really helps out. So I think that if we like really just become real open minded and like actually just randomly walk up to people and have conversations, like I'm one where like I gotta look at you first, see what kind of look you got on your face, and then like if you got that look where I can approach you, then I might approach you and try to have a conversation and see, like I want to hear your story. It's not everybody the same, and everybody experience some of the same struggles, but it's always different. And I like learning about other people's like trials and stuff. So
Keep going. May, what about you? What challenges have
Um,
you
I,
faced?
I feel that as far as the challenges I have faced is that I think that a lot of people talk about. I do a lot of community service, and I've been a nurse for it'll be 30 years this year. And I think that people say they want to help until it really comes time to help. I have a lot of friends or ex friends now at this point who are these self proclaimed liberals that swear to God that they do all this wonderful stuff, but I do community service within our community that we all live in all of the time. And I constantly text and call them and ask them to help. And you want to know how many times they've done it?
Probably none.
Want to guess?
None.
Exactly. Exactly.
Big goose egg.
Right. So this is the problem. I think that people are very loud when it comes to, speaking their mind and saying things with, you
Uh-oh. I think she froze. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish this out. Finish this out, Kim. I'm about to
um
come back in. Go ahead.
all
freeze
right.
or can you hear me?
Oh, okay. I can hear you now. We can hear you now. We can hear you. Froze
Am I
though. Oh,
there?
there you go. You're back. You're back right there. You go ahead, Kim. Go
Ali?
ahead. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, May.
All right.
Hello?
So let's all
She
commit to
can't hear
taking
us.
one advocacy. Huh?
Keep going. Keep going, Kim. She can't
All
hear
right.
us.
So let's all commit to taking one advocacy step this week, whether it's volunteering, donating, or even starting a conversation.
Did I
Every
freeze?
action
I'm
counts.
sorry. Could you hear what I was saying or no?
No, May. I couldn't hear what you were saying, but Kia, go ahead. Finish. Go ahead. Finish, Kia.
Every action counts, and together we can make a difference. Thank you for joining us for this special segment of the Gag-Order.
Ha. Okay. Once again, on the bottom, I have the suicide and crisis lifelines. I want everybody to pay attention and be aware of those right there. They are lifesavers and they do help people. And if you know somebody in need, please save somebody in need because they need help. Um, uh, at this time, right now, you know what I'm gonna do? Fuck it. Let's do it. Okay, let's cap this off with a sound off. You know what time it is, ladies. This is the time where if we forgot anything during the show or we have anything we want to say for the day, we get it off our chests. So please, at this time, May, since you were stopped short and you were interrupted, I'm gonna start with you tonight. Can you hear me?
So my thing that I've actually been thinking about all week is personal accountability. I've been watching all this stuff between the presidents and all this weird crap they're doing in our nation and everybody's opinions. And I think that, again, like I was touching on, everybody has a lot to say, but nobody really wants to do anything. People are very loud when it comes to expressing opinions, especially when they quote unquote feel emotional about them, yet they don't really want to do anything to fix or change the problems that they're complaining about. And again, so this goes back to even something as simple as the political thing. Everybody's bent out of shape about the president, but in reality, it's your state politics that control most of your life. And most people don't even know who their state representatives are. So my sound off is, before you spew off at your mouth and feel like you have all this emotional pent up whatever, know what you're talking about and actually do some research and read. And if you're going to be that loud about something, then do something about it. I'm tired of people just yelling and screaming and not following through. Like I said, even with the all the things that I do for community service or did before COVID, because COVID really put a damper on a lot of the things we did. But I would call these people who are these, liberal ex-friends of mine all the time to come help. Nobody would ever come help. But then you're saying how you want to do all community service for people or organizations or things that you'll never see. Change just starts at home. So again, when you are that loud about something, change it in your community first and then worry about what everyone else is doing.
Absolutely.
That's my sound off.
Absolutely. Keya, I'm going to come to you next on Sound Off.
All right, so basically, get the help that you need. Don't be scared to get help. Like, it's nothing wrong with needing help. It's nothing wrong with needing to talk to somebody. Like, get that shit off your chest so that you don't hurt yourself or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the realest, that's the easiest way to put it. Like, understand that coming off of drugs is hard. Understand that it's not an overnight process. But understand when you put in the work, you're going to come out way better than what you were before. And it's never too late to restart your life and get somewhere better in life.
Absolutely. Thank
And
you.
on top of that,
Yeah.
to finish my sound off,
Uh-huh.
I'm passing sociology with at least a 94% because I'm missing one grade as of right now. So, yeah.
All right.
Good
Big
job.
shot to you. Good job. Good job. I got a sound off before my final thought this time. And I would like to say to everybody who watches and follows me that I apologize. Social media right now and me are clashing and bumping heads. So they are suspending pages. They are doing things because somebody, I don't know who, but they got people reporting bullshit on my pages. But it is what it is. So I'm going to deal with it, and I am gonna keep. If you guys notice the uptick in post, the Seventh Sun Entertainment page and the Gag-Order page, the Innovative Nexus page, they are all getting a massive overhaul, and there'll be massive updates every single day, and most of them detail new fashion, movies, updates in celebrity news, in politics and news on the Gag-Order page. These things are going to be steadily and coming constantly. But at the same time, like I said, I'm dealing with social media. They don't like that when you click on. I think they don't like when you click on an image on my page. It takes you to another site. But yet and still, we're gonna iron all of that out. I hope you guys like the new touches on those right there, and I want you guys to check out all the new news because I will be putting all the top 30 news is going to be on each page. And I wish you guys would tune in, have some fun. Let's do this. But as we wrap up tonight's episode of the Gag Order, let's take a moment to reflect on our discussion we've had. Drug overdose and suicide are not just statistics. They are personal stories that impact lives and communities. We have the power to make a difference, whether through listening, supporting, or advocating for change. Let's commit to being a part of the solution, breaking down stigma, and fostering a world where everyone feels seen, heard, and valued. Remember, awareness is the first step towards action. Together, we can create a ripple effect of understanding and compassion. Thank you for joining us. Let's keep this conversation going and continue to support one another. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay hopeful. This is the Gag Order, and we thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.